Good evening, everybody, and welcome again to our new series that we've started entitled Let's Talk. We're excited about this because there's so many topics that Christians and non-Christians are talking about or want to talk about, but don't always have a forum or an opportunity to start the conversation. So we're starting conversations. Throughout this season of the summer, we are starting conversations. You were able to share with our conversation on relationships, and that was the first part. We have another part that we're scheduling and we're going to come back with. And then we're going to talk about faith and justice, how people of faith deal with justice. But today is a special series or special segment entitled Faith and Fitness. We're going to talk about our bodies. Our bodies are the temple of God. And yet sometimes we don't always treat them that way. And sometimes they seem to be in rebellion against us. There's so much we want for ourselves, and a lot of that is often locked up in self-image. There are things that we want to become and want to do, but we can't get to them because our image of ourself is not the way we want it to be. And the question comes, do we just mope? Do we just pout? Do we just give in? Or is there a way to bring our body in harmony with our mind and bring our body and mind in harmony with the will of God for our lives? Because that's really what matters. Quiet as it's kept, most of us want to do more and to be able to do more than we ever state. But we know that it would be difficult to do unless we can somehow bring our bodies into subjection to that desire and that will. So tonight I'm surrounded by some more friends. Yes, I got a lot of friends, and I'm dragging them all out for all of these Let's Talk conversations. These are conversations I have with people in private or while we're in passing or when I see them. You know, we get to talking about these topics, and now we're able to come together as a group and share with you and share with each other. Every time I do one of these, we learn so much about who God is in our space and lives and what God is doing to enable us and empower us to do fully, brilliantly, and completely everything that He has placed in our heart and mind. You'd be surprised how obstacles are just step-ups instead of step-downs to the will of God. I'm surrounded today by some friends, and I'm going to introduce them to you. Teron and Shanara Smith are here. I've known Shanara since, oh my God, I think the day she was born. And I remember when Teron came into her life. William Chipper Thomas, we call him Captain Guns. He's here to share with us today. The one and only, incomparable, Odell Dickerson Jr., the COO of our church. He's sitting beside me looking dapper. And then beside him is the unique Timothy Torrance, muscles personified. You'll see him in the gym just pumping weight. And then last but not least, Ms. Beverly Adams, who came to this exercise of fitness with one goal, and yet in the process of finding that goal, she has led so many others into finding their place because she was a role model for them. I'm just so delighted to have each and every one of you sharing with me tonight as we talk about faith, who we are as children of God, and fitness. And, you know, one of the things that really excites me is in understanding that there is normally a reason behind everything we do. People don't know the reason, they just see what we do. They just see how we go about our lives, but they don't know what leads us to something. There are persons who know you all from Instagram. Teron, they know you from all the 800,000 classes you've taught. From being seated in a chair and sweating to getting up on that stepper, going from one to one. Shanara, they know you from cooking food that was so good and cooking healthy food and working out. Chip, they know you as the incomparable, the man who never stops and never quits. Muscle Beach, they know you from Instagram, from being in the gym, working out every day. Tim, people see your Instagram and the number of the hundreds of people you've trained in fitness and that have helped them not only get a job, but keep a job. And Beverly, the staff of New Psalmist is watching, paying attention tonight because they know what you've done for them. But that's what everyone sees and knows. But they really don't know how you came to it, how you got involved in it, and why it is so important to you at this stage in your life. Which one of you wants to start on that and give us a insight on what brought you to this thing called fitness?
I can
Shanara?
begin. Thanks for having me, Bishop. So, getting into fitness, funny story. I got into it when Teron and I broke up in our college years. And, I was
One of them 8 million breakups.
one of the 8 million breakups. And I said, well, if I'm going to be out here again, I got to look the part. So that's why I got into fitness, because I knew I needed to make sure that I was looking good. What kept me into fitness after we got married and started our lives together, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. And that is a very debilitating condition, a chronic disease, nothing that has a cure. And once I got diagnosed with that, I had moments where I just could not be mobile. I could not put on my own clothes. I needed Teron's help for so many things. And at that point, I knew that if God healed me enough to be able to move again, I was never going to let my body get into a state of being immobile. So once I got my condition under control through, medication, and I was able to start getting active again, I never stopped from that point. It was very important to me to be strong. My goal wasn't to keep my body at a certain weight. It was for me to be strong again. Because to lose that strength is a very scary feeling, to not know what your future holds for you. And I was in my 20s when I first got this diagnosis, just starting our life together. And at that point, I made it a point. I didn't have a choice. I'm going to make sure that I keep moving, because it helped me. It helped me to be able to, keep my arthritis at bay. Although, some people have arthritis and they say, well, I can't move because I have arthritis. No, you better move because you have arthritis. There were moments where I needed crutches to walk because I had so much inflammation on my knees.
And folks didn't know that.
No one knew. No one knew. And a lot of people, you knew, Bishop, there were moments where I came to church and I looked pregnant because I was on steroids. And that's a shocker to anyone, And at that point, I said, I have to stay mobile. I have to get, this weight off. I'm not going to let this disease conquer me. And from that moment, Teron was able to really help me and be by my side to make sure that I could be as strong as possible. So that's what kept me in the game.
Chip, what got you the way you are now, fanatical about exercise and training?
Well, all of my life I was an athlete, basketball, football, and track. So being physically fit was just, a part of my human nature. And then when my injury occurred and the doctors asked me about how I wanted to live my life, I told them that I still wanted to live as independent as possible. And they said, well, if that's the case, then there's a certain physical demand that's going to be required for you to live independently using a manual wheelchair. So that's what really drove the conversion from being an athlete to using my physical tools to be able to live independently. And once I got out here in the world, I realized the real physical demand that it was. Having to be able to push up hills, inclines, and basically using 2 limbs to replace 4, and the demand that it requires for me to have to use my arms to do everything. So that's what got me into the physical condition I'm in now.
I think people miss that. That one statement, to use my 2 limbs to do the work of 4. Oh, what got you?
Wow, both those 2 stories were powerful, and had never heard them like that, even though I'm friends with both of them. For me, I'm going to start with today. Today, you need a competitive edge in life to be successful. Growing up in the inner city almost as an only child in what they call we called it the neighborhood, but they call it the hood. You needed some type of competitive edge. You could get by or gain respect a few ways. One of those ways was being an athlete, playing football, playing basketball, playing one of the sports that we played in the neighborhood, and you had to be good at it. And I found out that if I worked out a little bit, I could get a competitive edge. I could jump a little higher, I could run a little faster, and I would be a little cooler in the neighborhood. And I found out, to be honest, you look a little bit better.
True.
You know, and as a teenage kid with a teenage frail body, and all of a sudden you have a shoulder and you look athletic and you're playing sports, it did something not only for my physical, it did something for my mental and how I carried myself in a tough neighborhood, in a tough school environment. And so that was the competitive edge that I used then, and it's also part of the competitive edge that I use now.
Wow. Wow. I hope you all are seeing the different things that get added, how each person is coming to it from something different. Tim?
Well, mine started, I was an athlete as well, but I was always the smallest guy. I was always the shortest. I was always the smallest just because of my frame. And when I came out of high school, I was 117 pounds.
I remember
117
little
pounds.
Timmy Thorne.
Yeah. So when I got on my first ship, I could run, I could do everything else, do push-ups and all. But one of the guys pulled me to the side and he was like, look, I need you to put some weight on. I need you to, I said, well, I can do anything you can do. And I didn't know that he was a bodybuilder. And he became one of my best friends. We worked together, we would work out together. And because I was on the ship, and it was literally my first time, it was like 90 days. We worked out 2 a-days for 90 days. And then it just became a lifestyle. I started seeing, I started, learning about my body, learning why things were what they were. And it just felt good to me. It was something that I was attracted to because of playing sports. And like Odell said, you want to be good at whatever you do, whether it was baseball or football or basketball. But now this was the only sport I could do because I was on a ship. Couldn't do anything else. So I was like, well, I'm going to be good at this. And once it started going and I started seeing results and I started feeling better and I started seeing that it was taking a lot of stress off of me because I had something I could pour myself into in a positive way. And it started feeling a lot better. And I just stayed with it.
Wow. Bev?
What got me started was back in 2007. I lost my mom. I was 39 years old, and we moved here in 2010. And I remember you and Odell in 2011 walking to the gym. Come on around to the gym. Come to the gym. I didn't want to come to the gym. I was already tired. I was fatigued. Probably was depressed and didn't even know it. So I'm like, why would I want to go to the gym if I'm already tired? Not knowing what the gym would do for me physically, not just physically, but mentally. I had lost my mom. I was in a dark space, and I didn't even know it or realize it. And I started coming to the gym once a week, twice a week. Then it turned to like 3 or 5 days a week. And it's been that way ever since. And I've worked out with you, Odell, Tim, Teron. Till this day, I'm still working out with Teron. Fitness is more than just the physical. It is also mental.
All right.
Yeah.
Wow. Teron, what brought you?
Two things primarily, Bishop. First of all, thanks for having me. When I was younger, similar to my big brother Tim over there, I was the small guy. I was athletic, but I was real frail, real thin, if you can believe it or not. And so I was really gifted athletically, but I wanted to find a way where I could be more competitive, like my other big bro O said, and get that edge. Some of the guys were just bigger and stronger than me. So that's why they were beating me in some of the races or able to jump higher or run faster. And so that's what got me introduced to it in high school, actually. After graduating from high school, came here to go to school at Morgan State University, where I met my beautiful wife. And as she mentioned earlier in her segment, when we did have that breakup, the 1 out of 8 million or 8,000 or so that we
Yes.
had, I saw her getting her body right, because at that point I had kind of fell off. And I was trying to get myself together, emotionally and mentally. Like Bev was just saying, I was in a pretty bad place myself. And so I got back into it. I got back into fitness, something that I love to do, something that I was good at doing. But my whole perspective of it was different. It wasn't to get a competitive edge or to compete at this point in my life, because I was mid 20s, early 20s at this time. So, my heydays were over, but it was because I was looking around at some of my family and I was seeing the high cholesterol or the diabetes or the high blood pressure and some of the debilitating diseases that not just in my family, but just in the African American community in general can hinder us and harm us if we don't take charge and take control. So I wanted to attack it from a perspective of what can I do? What has God given me to allow me to take control in my life in a way where I can manage my blood pressure, manage my cholesterol, manage my blood sugar, some of these diseases that my family fight against every single day. What can I do to put myself in the best position possible to just help to combat some of these things? Not to say that it still may not come knocking on my door, but at least I know that I'm doing everything that I can with the temple and the body that he's given me to not only glorify and serve him, but to put myself in the best position to fight. Because as you know, Bishop, you always say, just keep on living. It's going to come a day where you're going to have to fight. And if your physical is not where it needs to be for you to be able to endure the battle, it's just going to be that much harder.
What's interesting, as you listen, you hear health, you hear independence, you hear an edge, and you hear coming out of a dark place. And yet, we're talking about fitness. We're not talking about going to a therapy session. We're not talking about going back for an advanced degree. We're talking about how God has said to us, you can handle because those are the major issues of life. How do I overcome the genetics of my reality internally? How do I maintain a measure of independence when I'm fighting against so much? How do I have an edge when the world is trying to take everything from me? And how do I come out of darkness when there's nothing to grab hold of? If you ever been in a dark place, you realize it's a pit with almost without walls. People talk about, I feel like I'm in a room, I'm just closed in. No, baby, you're in a dark space that doesn't seem to have walls. All your hands do is reach out. They don't reach anything. So the question comes, how do we do this? And you all are saying it by somehow doing something with this thing called the body that God gave us. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. When you think about health, when you think about competitive edge, coming out of a dark place, being independent, you didn't know all of those answers to doing that would be in the body. That would kickstart everything else was going to come out of your body. It was going to start right there. You all have good jobs. You all have your competitive edge. You all have your health, your independence, and out of a dark place. And God said, it just came from presenting your body a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto me. As you think about fitness now and how it has helped you to maneuver these things, because you've arrived at places you didn't really expect yourself to be. I mean, you hope to be there, but you actually have gotten there. Think about it a second. You hoped to be able to have 2 limbs that could function as 4, but you do have them. You hope to have health, to be able to not have to lay in the bed for a half hour, and you can get up. You hoped to have the competitive edge as like most coming out of the hood, and you got it. I mean, each of you have gotten it. What does the discipline now require to keep it? Who wants to jump in? Beth?
Well, what keeps me disciplined is that once you work out, the feeling that comes after that, it's like it's almost like a drug. Well, your brain releases these endorphins, and it just gives you a good feeling. And also knowing that working out, I try to explain to my husband sometimes, it's like a car. 'Cause I'm trying to get him on board, but it hadn't clicked yet. The food we eat is so important to how our body will actually function. Um, it's almost unexplainable, but Teron probably could kick it out. But to me, I started learning that what I eat helps me function better in the gym. I have more energy. And me and Odell talked here lately. This food now, I'm almost nervous about the food because everything has chemicals in it. So now I'm like, how are we going to fuel our body if the food is messed up? So now it's like one thing after the other. But I just don't see how I could go a day without working out. It jumpstart my day. That's my morning cup of coffee.
Say that again. It
jumpstarts
jumpstarts you,
my
and it's
day.
your morning cup of coffee.
Yes, that's my morning.
It's
cup of
almost part of you're getting yourself ready to face
coffee.
everything.
Rest of the day.
Oh, why is that important for you?
Wow. So for me, Bishop, fitness and faith are two of my core values that I promote everywhere I go. Faith first, of course. Fitness is a lifestyle. It is a part of who I am. I could not do without it. Fitness is my therapist. It keeps me from going crazy sometimes. But it also helps me in a proactive way in jumpstarting my day. So I'm anticipating all that I have to encounter during a day, during a week, during a month, during a lifetime. And I am preparing myself by preparing my body, which houses my mind, my spirit, and my soul. So it's a holistic approach to it, but it's the preparation that's needed. A man asked me recently, what do you do when you do not feel like working out? And my answer was, I work out. Are you always motivated? No, but it takes the discipline to do what you know you have to do to be prepared.
I like that. Are you always motivated? No.
Amen.
Am I always disciplined? Yes.
Yes.
Most motivation is nice. Discipline is essential.
Yes.
It is essential. You said something. You said working out is my therapist. And working out isn't always with weights. It can be walking. It can
Yes.
be whatever a person does, swimming, aerobics, but it's my therapist. Isn't it amazing that God now get what I'm going to say, created your body to be able to receive what you need to receive while you push it to new limits. While that God says, I'm going to let your time spent in whatever the exercise routine is be your therapist. How does that work? Well, it's something about in the working out moment, either with a coach or by yourself. As Beverly mentioned, things are being released. Neurotransmitters are being released in your body. Hormones are being released. And there is a calmness in the midst of whatever storm you're in while you're in your exercise program. Whatever it is, even if you're just out walking, you say, yeah, but I got so much on my mind. If you weren't out walking, it'd be working on your mind worse. It's something about understanding this gift God has given us.
It's a gift. And just to your point, Bishop, this past Saturday, I ordered a sauna suit so I could sweat a little bit more. So I was feeling sluggish on Saturday. We both exchanged how tired we were on Saturday. My sauna suit came in the mail. It was about 6 p.m. I was like, I got my suit. I'm going downtown to go for a walk. I went down to the harbor. I parked. I walked the harbor, Harbor East, Canton, and all through East Baltimore. I looked up. I had walked for 3.5 hours. And during that walk, God revealed so much. I met people who knew me and I did not know. I ran into people who I knew, and everybody's telling me how encouraging it is to see me out working out, to see me walking, or I saw you on Instagram. Oh, you work for New Psalmist Baptist Church. One guy came to me and said, I'm coming to church this week. I forgot about every bad thing that I was thinking about because I decided to go and exercise my gift in walking. And God said, okay, if you can do that, you can take those first steps, those physical steps. I'm going to take the other steps that's needed to get you where you need to be.
There's something powerful about pushing our bodies in work. I can't do this. I can't. God says, I will keep you in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on me. And whenever you and I take our burdens to him in the midst of bringing our bodies to him, because we're saying, God, perfect my body, while at the same time we're asking him, perfect my spirit, perfect my mind. My mind's a little confused right now. My spirit is a little out of sorts. I do my best my best thinking about my hardest issues while I'm working out.
You know, for me, working out is like an act of worship for me. I really look at what I can do in our gym. We built the gym in our home during the pandemic, which makes it 10 times easier. But I look at what I can do and I can see God's power moving through me as I move that weight. And he'll tell you, I can move some weight now. But when I see that, it's not just physical because I can really the confidence that I have once I know that I'm able to lift a certain weight. I can squat, I can deadlift, I can, run 3 miles. I couldn't, there was a time where I couldn't do any of that. There's a time where I could barely do the elliptical for 10 minutes. But the amount of confidence and faith that has developed in me when I see God working through me physically, it transforms to other parts of my life. And it just gives me more confidence, not just confidence in my body and how I look, that comes along with it, but it just gives me confidence to say, well, look, if God could take me from a point where I could not move at all to a point where I can hang with the big girls and the big boys now, there's like a whole world of opportunity that I know is available to me in other areas of my life. That confidence that I get is just, I can't even really describe it many times.
You're raising a point before Teron jumps in. You're raising a point. Persons always are wanting to do better and to do this and have this happen in their lives. And sometimes they miss it or miss the fact that God says you can start to see it if you just let me show it to you in you. Instead of looking out here for something to happen, let me start showing you it happened in you so that you will have the confidence needed to take it anywhere you want. Teron, you were going to jump in?
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off what my wife was just saying. For us in the Smith household, another approach that we oftentimes take when it comes to physical fitness is how it affects the other parts of our lives. And we know that as husband and wife, as mother and father, that we can't be the best versions of ourselves if we aren't really utilizing and using the gifts that God has given us to the best of our ability. So one of the things that we oftentimes do to jumpstart our day, like Bev just mentioned, is we exercise. And that helps us to not only get in better shape physically, but spiritually and emotionally. Like Big Osis said, it's a holistic approach in our household. And I know that I can't be the best father, the best husband, the best son and uncle, and every other role that I play in life if I'm not taking charge and doing what I'm supposed to do. I know oftentimes our children are watching us, and kids emulate what they see. And so they see that even though dad may be a little tired or mom might be a little tired, had a hard day at work, we're still down there in that fitness center, getting to walk on the treadmill or squatting or deadlifting or whatever the case may be that particular day. We're still making time to not only put in the work, but also to thank God in the process. Because like you said, Bishop, when I'm exercising now, especially as I've gotten older, that's probably the most quietest time, even though it can get kind of loud down there when I'm working out sometimes, but that's the most quietest time that I have all day to spend with God. Because once my babies get home, or it's on. So at that moment, that hour or so of time that I have, that's the time that I can really lock in between sets, I can read a scripture and just try to break that scripture down. Literally while I'm doing a particular exercise, or I'm thinking, or I'm talking to God about what's coming up next, or what I might need to try to see down the street and around the corner for, how I can put my family in a better position to be successful. So I take that time very seriously because I know that God is giving me that time to use it to the best of my ability.
And I think, one quick thing, we don't give ourselves another option. It's there. When the question is asked, how do you remain disciplined? We know no other choice. So just as you wake up and you brush your teeth,
You going
we're gonna work out. And life gets busy. We have 2 young kids. We run businesses. We have full-time jobs. Life gets busy, but we will not. There are times where he's gonna work out every day, regardless, right? But at least with me, there are some times where I might just be overwhelmed, and I might say I can't do my normal workout, but I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do something. We just do not give ourselves any other option. There's no choice. You have to do it.
Tip, you go ahead, and then I want to talk about this one. Go ahead, Tip.
So, as he mentioned, he doesn't know what's next, or him working out allows an opportunity to think about what's next. When I think about, my past and everything that I went through when it comes to being physically fit, from being an athlete to my injury, part of it and what keeps me disciplined now is not knowing what God has in store for me next. Initially, my fitness journey started out because I wanted to be an athlete. I wanted to be like my father and play football for Morgan. For those of you who aren't familiar, my injury is a result of I'm a shooting survivor at my high school that resulted in my paralysis while protecting a fellow classmate of mine, thus ending my athletic career. When my injury occurred and I was down University of Maryland shock trauma, one of the bullets hit my shoulder, came across, hit my spine, which paralyzed me, and it collapsed my right lung. So even till this day, I only have one lung. So in part, that's why sometimes I speak softly, because one lung has to take on the air capacity for both. The doctors told me when I was injured, if I wasn't in the physical shape that I was in, dealing with the amount of blood loss that I experienced and with my right lung collapsing on me, I wouldn't have made it if it wasn't for my physical fitness. I was in the best shape of my life, being a 3-sport athlete, steps away from starting a collegiate athletic career. Even now, with me having to navigate the world using 2 arms to replace 4, I still don't know what's next. I still don't know what this new building may have in store that may not all be correctly accessible for me, the amount of fitness that may require for me to get to and fro where I need to get. And now, with me not knowing what's next, hopefully, I'll be a father and a husband one day. And one of the drills one of the exercises I do in the gym is picking up a baby, basically putting a barbell in front of me and pick it up, because that's picking up the weight of a baby. I'm practicing, making sure my lower back is strong enough to be able to accommodate that if I was to have a child one day. And also to protect my family, because the fact of the matter is, me being a person with a disability makes you an easy target to some individuals. So to being able to protect my family, and I can't get to my hip, I want to be able to physically protect my family. So I will say this: you better stay on the outside, because if I get a hand on you,
See them guns.
It's over.
if I get a hand on you.
See them done.
So yeah, the fear of not knowing what's next is what keeps me disciplined in the gym.
Woo.
Tim?
Bishop, you did talk about discipline, and I know the first time we hear discipline, we always go negative. But discipline is something we've always had in our lives, from when Big Mama was telling us what to do, when your mother was telling you what to do, and then I went into the military, with the military telling me, it's all for a good cause. It's always for a good reason. But we got to think about that for ourselves. So our discipline, we know, is for what we want to do. For me, I was in a job where stress took out the majority of the people for whatever reasons. They went to other avenues to deal with stress. Well, my discipline was so that I could handle that stress. And I know most of y'all see me. I know my friends see me. I'm always smiling. But that's because of my discipline in the gym. I knew one thing was always good is going to be my body. Because my body was good, that leave me room for my mind to be good. That gave me room to deal with whatever was coming to me without worrying about, aches and pains and this and that and the other coming through my 20s, coming through my 30s, 40s, 50s. And
50s.
so, yeah, keep on going up them ladders. But it was my discipline because I knew it was for a good cause.
See, we often define discipline from the other side of the fence. What do you mean? You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do the other. But the question is, why is a fence built? We would say to keep stuff from getting out or keep stuff from getting in, all of the crazy stuff. And to keep stuff from getting out, you keep what you have. A fence is really built so that you get to fully enjoy everything that is within it. You get to enjoy it with the safety of knowing that you don't have to worry about other stuff coming in and the stuff you have getting out. So it's really built for you to enjoy something. When you mentioned, Tim, the idea, God says, I am giving you this so that you know you have a fence. And that while you're inside of it, you can enjoy it to the fullest. You don't have to worry about what's going to come in and get you. You can build your confidence. You can build your abilities. And whatever's coming at you, you'll be able to handle it because you have learned what happens or how to take full advantage of this space. The person who goes to the gym, Reverend Booth and I would go to the gym when I would go preach for him. A couple of our friends would go with us, and they'd walk around and go get some food and go sit in the lounge chairs and whatever. They didn't do any work. But by doing that they would not be ready for any serious moment. They wouldn't be ready for something that comes up. By taking full advantage of the space God gives us, we're developing this body so that it has the confidence. It's a terrible thing to go in a fight or into any situation with a lack of confidence about what you can mentally do and what your body can mentally do. The workouts, the efforts make you say or allow you to say, at least my body is in shape. It's going to be able to handle this. How many times have you heard people say, I can't do that? And because they can't do that, they can't see themselves in a certain position. And part of our job is to help them move. What would you say to somebody who says to you, that's you, I can't be doing all of that? What would you say to them?
Well, I hear that a lot, and I usually just tell people just to try small increments at a time. Don't start off trying to do what you see me do. I might post my Instagram workout, and it might be a little more advanced than others, but you have to find what works best for you. So if that is just walking around your neighborhood for 20 minutes a day while you're watching your favorite show on your phone or listening to your music, it's something. You have to build your way up. I think, and a lot of times my husband tells me this too, when I may come to him and we'll talk in the kitchen over our breakfast and say, what you going to do today? And as far as your workout is concerned, and I'll say, yeah, I'm going to do squats and I'm going to do lunges and I'm going to do hip thrusts. And he'll look at me and say, why are you doing all that in one day? And I'll say, well, I want to get a good workout in. And he'll say, you're shooting too high. You might burn out. Start low. Just do this. This is enough for you today, especially if I'm increasing weights. And so I try to make sure that I send that same message to others and just say, don't try to do what you see me doing. Start low. Just set small goals for yourself. But you cannot, what they say, comparison is the thief of joy. You cannot compare yourself to what you see everybody else doing all the time. Ooh.
Another point, Bishop, is that I often tell people, clients or family, friends, whoever it may be, well, how can I get started? How can I look like you? And da-da-da-da-da. And I remind them that I didn't get into it for the looks. The looks is the icing on the cake. I got into it for my health. So when I approach fitness, I approach it from an inside-out perspective. So what you see on my Instagram is a third of the battle. I was a skinny kid. Like, Like my big bro said, you know, I was a small guy. They couldn't put on size. So my battle was a little different. I didn't want to lose weight. Like Bev, I wanted to put weight on and maintain it. I wanted to not lose it because I had a metabolism through the roof, still do. And if I miss a week or two, I'm going to lose 5, 6 pounds. And most of it is going to be muscle because I'm already so lean.
There's some of us who have no passing familiarity with what you're saying. If we stop working out for a week, there is not a pound in sight that is moving somewhere else. In fact, it's calling for company.
I have the opposite. I have the reverse effect, Bishop, believe it or not. And that's been my life. But I tell folks you have to start, like my wife said, I try to meet people where they are. That's something that we often say in church. Meet people where they are. And so I try to get them to understand, set a goal and have a real reason as to why you're getting into this. Are you trying to get into this because you want to look a certain way? Or because you want followers, or you want likes, you know, or because you just want to put on this particular image? Or are you really getting into this because you want to make a better version of yourself? And as long as your purpose is aligned with your passion, then you can be successful. And that's one of the things that I teach our children. You know, my daughter runs track now, and she's very successful at it, but she does it because she wants to. Not because I did it, not because I was a track star back in the day, but she does it because she wants to. And I always tell her, your journey is your journey. Your journey may not look like mine, you know, just like mine may not look like yours, but that's what makes it special. The results come and go. You have to embrace the journey. So it's never easy starting out, but eventually if you get into a routine and you have a strong purpose behind what you're doing, it'll become a habit. After it becomes a habit, it's easier to stay disciplined. And I believe, and Beverly will tell you this, she knows my saying, we don't just exercise, we train. Because exercise comes and go, but we train for life. We train for things that may happen along the way. We train for that unexpected news. We train for that surprise, disappointing, traumatic event that might happen. We train for the joys and the happiness that comes with it too. So I just try to make sure that in our household and to people that I talk to and deliver the message to, that it stays the same. Set a small goal for yourself. Really define your purpose as to why you want to get into this. And then after you define your purpose and you set that small goal, go for it. And then you'll be able to build off of that goal. And then you'll be able to build off of that goal. And before you know it, you got tons of followers and likes, and you're sharing information. And the staff is following you and coming to you for advice because you started somewhere. You took the challenge to start somewhere and to be serious about it and to have a purpose behind it. And then God will elevate you accordingly.
You know, one of the interesting things, fitness has a way of letting us see results. But at the same time you're seeing results in your body, you're seeing results in your spirit. It's almost like saying, for those who recognize it, that God says, I'm going to give you a gift. You won't this is a place you won't have to have a problem to grow. This is a place you won't have to be shot down to grow. But I'm going to give you a place where you will see the physical results that manifest the spiritual results. How would you say that this continual lifestyle, and each of you is seeing results? Would you agree? Talk about the results spiritually that people may not know, but that you know. The spiritual results. Who wants to jump in?
I'll jump in, Bishop, and I'm gonna go spiritual, but I'm gonna make it a real practical and really personal. I live a life of service. I serve the kingdom in everything that I do, in every aspect of my life. Bishop, we've been together for 23 years. I've seen how my fitness has made me better. I've also seen how my fitness has influenced you to make you better. We worked out together for 20 years straight. That's one
tried to kill me.
That's right. I'm not going to tell you what his excuse is.
I'm old.
He would say he was old.
He tried to kill an old man.
Y'all, when I came along, we started training together. Bishop was the president of the Millennial Conference and the Hamptons Conference. He was preaching in short sleeve shirts, and he was telling them what the Lord would do. And
I told you got to see the
God-
result.
right? And back then, that was kind of cute and kind of funny. But now, when we have, one of the most amazing, genius pastors in the world, and we've said this before, we don't want our body to outlast our mind, nor do we want our mind to outlast our body. And in order for you, Bishop, to give us all that you have on a regular basis from your mind and your body and your spirit, you have to be in a certain physical shape. Also, Bishop, we have been stuck in the stairwell of a jail together.
Oh, yeah. With the persons who are housed in the jail.
Yes, with the inmates. We've been in almost a riot in Africa.
Oh, yes.
We've been in the Baltimore riots, right? Linked arm in arm. And when we go on these journeys, I know I'm the COO, but I'm also, at that point, security. But if that's my role, I want to be able to do it to the fullest. And he has to have some confidence in me to know he can do what he needs to do. Because I have support that I can be confident in. But I have to be confident in who I am.
And when he says run, I have to be able to run.
Exactly.
Let's run. We won't fight anymore. Let's run.
Hey, run or fight. You have
That's
to be in
right.
a certain level
You got
of
to be at a
shape.
certain level.
Yes.
But Tim,
I was gonna say, I know when I first started, I was doing it basically for myself, but then I learned how to do it for others and teach others. And got my certification. But one of the things that I was always telling people is, you got to remember to keep your temple. God only gives you one temple. And it's just like, learning through Bible school and learning through discipleship, that when God gives you something, it's a treasure, and you got to treat it as such. And if you do it, and you do it, that's not for yourself, but for others, he'll give you more than what you can hold. And it's like through my life, not worrying about myself all the time and giving out free information and showing people what I was doing, I've seen through my life that I've always had favor. And I run around all the time and say, favor is not fair. But I know it comes from me always being disciplined in my body and my temple, because I know that's the one thing God gave me. And I truly believe that I took good care of it.
that's a good way to say it. That's what he gave me. All this other stuff but I know he gave me this body and I'm taking care of it. Bev, you wanted to jump in?
Well, I can say I'll be 55 this year, the end of the year.
No.
Yeah. And I think God has used me and my body in a way I encourage my husband. He started working out with me, as well as my son and my daughter-in-law. And Teron works us out twice a week. We started this back in 2018,
I think so.
maybe 2017, 2018. We're still doing it. Even through the pandemic, we've been working out by the Zoom. We never stopped. He kicks our butt, but needless to say, just using me to inspire others to work out is a blessing. And not just here on staff, but even with family members. And a lot of times people might say, well, I don't want to work out. I'm too old. You're never too old, because I'm 55 and I'm working out now so I can get another 50 years under my belt.
All right.
And it's just the way I'm looking at it. I'm working out now for the future that I want. I want to be able to play with my grandchildren. I don't have none yet. But I want to be able to play with my grandchildren, run behind. I want to be healthy. And women, as we age, our body changes a whole lot. Hormones kick in, and you want your bones to be strong because they get fragile through, a certain point of life. But you just want to be able to lift weights and induce your cardio and everything. It's just, God is using all of us in a certain way.
I think for me, I see how Satan would try to use my fitness level to attack other areas of my life. And so for example, if I'm not physically fit, I'm taking a little break, and my break might last a little too long, then I can see how my mind may not be as sharp. So at work, I might be slacking a little bit. Or if I'm not eating like I'm supposed to be, that 2 o'clock hour at work, can get a little challenging. And
Don't
so
speak to me about it.
I'll see how my body just might not be functioning, and then I might, be needing to go to the doctors a little more. So financially, I might be paying more for copays or more for medicines. I can see, we all grown, right? We're married. I gotta stay physically fit because if not, that can attack us relationship wise. I gotta stay fit, if you know what I mean, right?
Speak on it.
I gotta be able to
He's
move.
grinning over there. He's grinning over there.
I gotta be able to move. With my children, if I'm letting Satan attack me and say, "Oh, you don't need to work out. You don't have the strength to do it. This is beyond you." Then I can't be physically fit for my kids. And my kids are active, especially my son. He's a lot to chase after. But, there were times when I wasn't physically fit, when I was really dealing with my chronic disease, where I couldn't even give my child a bath. I couldn't bend over the tub. It was too painful. So I would have to wait until he got home from work
And
just
you
to give a
didn't
bath.
see a better day at that day.
I did not. And that's just something that people sometimes don't even think about. And a lot of people my age don't really have, most of us don't deal with chronic conditions. But for older people, I see older people now who, and it's really a soft spot for both of us. And I see older people who just aren't moving. And I'm like, you have to move to be able to do your daily chores. Life would be just so much easier. Your quality of life would be so much more easier if you just move. You can stand up and cook longer. You can wash your dishes longer. You can get on the floor and play with your grandchildren without, need to hold on to something to get up. I see that, and I see my parents are, really in good physical shape because they stay moving, and that means a lot to me. But I can see how Satan can, if he can get to your body and he can convince you that you don't need to move physically, it's really going to affect every single area of your life.
I want to stay there for half a second because I think this is critical for those who are sharing with us, who talk about what they can't do and what their conditions are and what's what with them. Quiet as kept, so many of us have conditions that that we have to live through. But I want to go to Tip and Shanara a second. I want you all to really fire in on this because you had big traumatic health moments, and I think we could say these are major traumatic health moments. We're on the, as I would say, we're on the better side. You're on the better side of your burden now. You're living beyond what you could see. You're living in the world you did not imagine could be yours. And part of it is that self-care. And somebody say self-care, but we're talking about fitness. That was the self-care. I must care for myself. I must care enough about myself that I do this. I must care. You didn't see when you couldn't bend over the tub to wash your son that you could be sitting in this chair talking about this. When you laid in that hospital bed and folk were coming up to see you thinking you were done and out, you didn't see manning a chair. You had no image in your mind of how that could be successful. And yet both of you run successful careers, businesses, and the like. I think for the people watching and sharing with us, they need to hear the moment. There was a down, a trough, and then you came up. I need you to talk for a minute about the moment you said, no, I'm not going to let this happen. And talk about the emotion, because I think all of us bear it in our own personal stories. But I think telling those sharing with us today that moment will help somebody who says they can't realize they can't because they can't see. But you got to go beyond what you see. Talk about the moment you said, I'm mastering this. I'm gonna make this work. Can you talk about that a moment, Tip?
Sure. The moment for me was probably May 13th, 2004.
Wait a minute, did you notice the date? You notice he has a date. Why?
Significant.
It's significant. Evelyn?
No, I was going to say because whenever you have a traumatic experience, you'll always remember that date and time like this.
So my injury occurred on May 7th, 2004. And on the following Thursday, when Dr. Scalia and Dr. O'Connor came into my hospital room at Shock Trauma to tell me the news or the results of my injury, once I became coherent enough to really understand what they were about to tell me, when they told me that the bullet that hit my spine severed my spine and blew away my right lung, and my chance to walk again was slim to zero, and that I would probably most likely be wheelchair bound for the rest of my life. Of course, as a three-sport athlete who was few weeks away from living his lifelong dream of playing football for his alma mater, following his father's footsteps, it was devastating for me. And I remember my grandmother leaned over to me and she said that whether I was walking or standing, anything I wanted to accomplish was still attainable. And given...
How did she say it? She didn't just say it like that. How did she say it? How did she look at you and how did she say it?
Let me try to channel my inner Cheney Ruth. She said, baby, whether you walking or standing, anything you want to do is still at your reach.
How did that hit you?
It refocused my mind, the things that I was thinking about, to make a shift in my mind. Okay, understanding that college wasn't about football. I made it about football, but college is about preparing myself for the rest of my life and obtaining something that nobody else can take away from me. They took my athletic career away from me. They weren't going to take the rest of my life away from me. So whether I was walking or standing...
You said that to yourself, didn't
I said
you?
it to myself.
Wait, but how did you didn't just say, they took my athletic career away, they're going to take the rest of it. How'd you say it to yourself?
It was internally. My mind was going a mile a minute, trying to process all of the information that was being said to me, trying to figure out what life looked like after trauma for me. And I had no idea what that looked like. Everybody I knew that was wheelchair bound were alcoholics or junkies on the street or maybe war veterans who, society had forgotten about them. There was no positive example of what life in a wheelchair looked like moving forward. The only person on TV at the time maybe was Christopher Reeves, and by then, after his injury occurred, he wasn't on TV anymore. So I had to create what this person looked like. And I didn't know if I was doing right or wrong, but I was going to push forward and figure it out along the way. And as I continue forward, I realized my spiritual gift was once being a protective person. It now shifted to being a problem solver. And my physical fitness plays a part in that because with me being wheelchair bound, my blood circulation isn't as it was when I was able-bodied. With my legs being able to walk and circulate blood from the lower extremities up to my heart and to my brain, now I have to rely on my arms to do that for me. If being physically fit gives me an opportunity to really allow my blood pressure and my blood flow to get circulated. And how that helps me solve problems is keeps me alert, keeps blood flowing to my brain, allows me to percolate ideas.
And the things that those guys that you saw who were turning to drugs or whatever, you could begin now to understand, this is why this happened. Mm-hmm. Their bodies, they've given up on their bodies. And now their mind has given up on them.
Yeah, so a lot of people who are in my situation, they turn to suicide or they turn to drug addiction. And I knew I didn't want that for me. And I just knew that if I wanted to have keep a sharp mind, that would also mean keeping a sharp and physically fit body. Mm-hmm. And that was what part of the springboard that kept me pushing forward to being able to accomplish the things that I've accomplished in my almost 20 years of being in this chair.
So now, you couldn't bathe your son. Teron's got to help you get dressed. You don't see this future. I can remember them days. when the look on your face was, what will, nobody knows what I'm going through, but what will my future be? Will I be a mother? Will I be? What was the moment that you took charge? That how did God work with you so you could take charge?
I think there were two defining moments. The first moment was after I was diagnosed and I was able to get into my first remission, and
Your first remission.
my first remission. My gynecologist said, if you want to have children, you need to have them now. We weren't ready to have children. We had just got married. We thought life was going to start. We were going to travel. We wanted to wait 5 years before we had our first child. And she said, no, we don't know what your disease is going to look like. You want to have a child, you need to have the child now. So that's when we did. And we got pregnant right away, to the glory of God, because I did not know exactly if my disease would hinder me from being able to conceive. Once I had my daughter, at that moment, that was a defining moment, because I knew that I needed to be in the best shape possible to be a mom. A lot of times with patients that have IBD or Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, a traumatic event like childbirth or any type of surgery can launch you back into a flare. Right. And for me, it did. It launched me right back into a flare within 6 months of her childbirth. And that was a crazy time, because of course you're already dealing with the effects of after childbirth. You have all kind of crazy thoughts going through your head. Your body's just not the same. And then on top of that, I'm in a flare. I'm on steroids, so I've gained so much weight. And I'm like, okay, I need to figure out a way to make sure that my future and my child's future is going to be the best possible. How can I be healthy for her? And that led me to go and get my certification in nutrition and wellness, so I could start to look at my relationship with food, look at the types of foods that I'm eating, and be able to pick out what may be making my disease worse. And from there, it wasn't like it was a gradual moment where I started to feel God kind of pulling me out, and everything started to come together with Tehran's fitness business, and people just kind of seeing me navigate and come out, from my disease, and reaching out to me and, saying, can you help me? And that wasn't what I went into it for. I wasn't trying to help people out, but people see you, you're a walking billboard, and they see God work through you. And I said, okay, well, I guess I'll help you. But I had to find that one thing to live for, and that one thing to give me the strength to keep going. And that was my daughter. That was me making sure that I could be there for her, and that I could be healthy for her, that I didn't want her to come home from school and daycare and see me in the bed.
How old is she now?
She's 10 going on 25.
Seeing you healthy.
Seeing me healthy, and now she's at the age where I can start to share these things with her. I can start to share, pictures and say, this time Mom was going through this. And she says, wow, I didn't know. I said, of course, you didn't know. But now she can see God work through me, and I can explain how He has guided my journey and how He'll do the same for her, regardless of what she's going through. And that is very important. But I encourage everybody, you just got to find something. Set your sights on something. You may not have a child. Maybe it's a vacation that you're taking next year. And you say, look, I want to be in the best shape of my life for this vacation, so I'm not huffing and puffing walking through the terminal. You have to find something, small or big, to help you get to that point where you can be your best self.
I think that is so critical, that God will point you to that something. He will show you the something that's going to cause it's because it's going to be different for each of us. Oh, you just had surgery not long ago. And somebody would say, well, you had to have surgery as fit and fit as you are, or the opposite of it. Lifting all them weights, broke your body down. No, You know, the body is the body. The body does what the body does. Our job is to keep the body in the best shape we can keep it. But when our bodies begin to break down, we do begin to get nervous. What, if you don't mind talking about it, what gave you the confidence to know that even though you were going to have a major surgery, you were going to be all right?
The body is both strong and gentle and sensitive and complicated. But what gave me the confidence more than anything next to my faith was my fitness. I knew because of the shape that I was in going into surgery. Did I want to go into surgery? No. In the beginning, did I question how it was going to impact my lifestyle? Yes. Right? So 3 discs removed, titanium disc put in, squeezing my spinal cord, loss of muscle, loss of strength. I thought and I've been working out, sorry, Teron, I've been training since I was 13.
So the life as you knew it, you thought,
Was, I'm not going to say over, but it was going to change. Things then changed.
now,
And-
nobody would know that
Right.
looking at Instagram or
Right.
seeing you float through the church on Sundays. But you were at work all the way up to the day you had surgery.
To the day of,
And soon as you got cleared,
I was back.
you were back.
I was back sooner.
Yeah, oh yeah, you were hiding out in the closet, you know, coming back, sneaking out of closets, doing work. But if the body had not been in the shape it was, what would have probably been the result?
First of all, Bishop, because of my fitness, I had a mindset. I had confidence. There was a day where I made up my mind, okay, if I have to have surgery, God is going to take care of me. I'm going to bounce back just like that. And once I decided to tap into my faith and trust the fitness that God had already given me to be disciplined about on a daily basis, everything worked like clockwork.
You know, preachers like alliteration, tapping and trusting.
Yes. I never had 1 ounce of pain. Knock on wood. I never had 1 ounce of pain. The day I came out of surgery, they asked me, you know, if I had to go to the restroom, here's the bedpan. I said, no, I'm getting up. I got up and walked to the bathroom. And they were
Which was amazing.
was amazing. Everybody looked at me as if saying, nobody walks the day of, you know, coming out of surgery. But I just knew God was taking care of me. I knew that I have so much more work to do, and my body and my temple is going to be needed to get the work done.
You had surgery just about on your complete cervical spine,
Yes.
and a cranial spine.
Cervical
Cervical
spine.
spine.
Yep.
Cervical spine.
C4 through C7.
That's a lot.
Yes.
With nuts and bolts and screws.
Have them all.
And all of that affects literally your entire
Upper body.
The confidence needed is based on the confidence built.
Track record.
And one of the things I think we have to, as people of faith, constantly tap into is the track record of God
Yes.
in our lives. What better place to be challenged than in our bodies? Because those are ours. And when we win that challenge, we can go into other challenges. When God challenged, we don't see it sometimes on the front side. When you told me you had to have the surgery, and I remember going, oh, I don't see all that problem. I don't see that. I went, you ain't got, well, when's the surgery going to be? Because I hit your arm, and it was like hitting a bowl of Jell-O. And I said, oh, something is happening here. And so it would take time to build it back up. But what does God give us? Time. If you're not dying, you got time.
And Bishop, I'm not at 100%. I'm only at about 60% strength in the gym. But I'm there every single day.
Because is there any other way to get to 100%?
There's no other way. Laying in the bed will not get you.
No, you got to
100%.
help me. You mean just thinking about it won't do it? I can't think myself into health and manifest. Manifest.
Right.
Oh!
It just does not work.
So you got to you have to put yourself back out there. Isn't that what God is teaching us about life with
About life.
everything? You have to every day put. You all are working out in the morning. I know you go to the gym. I'll be talking to Tim. Where you go? I'm on my way to the gym. Tim, I'll see him. Beverly, I'm telling y'all, between first and second breakfast, Beverly have done worked out twice, and yourself. But God is saying, see what I'm doing with you. I'm showing you what you can become. I'm letting you see your body take shape while your spirit is taking shape at the same time. While your spirit is taking shape at the same time. We're almost near our end. I was talking to a major leader in our city who was kind of concerned about whether the direction of his company and corporation. And he was talking with me about the direction he was taking. And I said to him, I said, you're not going to give up. And he looked at me as if to say, how do you know I'm not going to quit? This is heavy. This is much. I'm under a ton of strain. I said, you're not going to give up. He said, why do you say that? I said, because you're a weightlifter. And weightlifters never give up. They just go back and see how they're going to yet get to that weight and mark it in the, I got it done. It may mean I have to back off some. It may mean I have to rest more between the set, but they don't quit. They just figure out another way to get it done. The Bible says out that we are fearfully and wonderfully made. I'm sure there was a moment when all of you looked in the mirror and didn't see the fearfully and wonderfully made. But now as you begin to move under the realities and context in which you live your lives, regardless of circumstances that are happening, you can look and say, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. I am conquering my body. The Bible speaks of and bringing it into submission so it becomes what I want it to be. And God is saying, if you can do that with your body, you can do that in any place I put you, with anything I have to do. Before we close this segment tonight, I hope y'all have enjoyed it.
This was
Anybody got any comments you want to make before, anything you want to share with our congregation and audience tonight in this first one where we talk about faith and fitness? Tim?
Well, I just want to say what everybody's pretty much said already. You know, you look at us and we're on a certain level. Don't go to our level. Go to your level. Jesus always said, I'll meet you where you are. So start where you are.
All right. Anybody else? Tim?
I would say define what fitness looks like for you, why you want to get fit, whether it's to train for the zombie apocalypse or for the next phase of your life. You know, just define what that looks like and keep it in front of you.
I would just encourage everyone, especially my older senior season folks, because it's, you know, I think the younger people, they've been working out a lot. But for my seasoned folks, the ones that feel like they're at a stage of their life where they need to rest more, just start now. Start today. Go on a walk outside your house, or just stand in front of the TV while you're watching, you know, Bishop's Bible study or something, and just march in place. But start today. Start moving right away, because it is going to drastically change your everyday living. The knee pain you have, the lower back pain you might have, all that can be improved, not with just medicine, but with your movement.
And you can be righteously fit.
righteously fit.
Yes, I would just say, ultimately, with all of our stories that we shared, some of the traumatic events that people have gone through up here, to remember why God has ultimately given us this gift. And I think with everything everyone said, at the end of the day, Bishop, it boils down to acts of service. Us taking care of our temples and being able to keep our bodies in a position where we can perform at our best, regardless of if it's a major surgery or we're battling Crohn's or a traumatic event, or a dark place, or wanting to be, top-notch shape so you can, complete your 90-day trial. That acts of service, because Jesus came here with nothing. Born in the barn, had to shop around for that, and he was still washing feet and taking care of everyone else and pulling whoever else off the street, meeting people where they were. So I know that for me, all of the working out that I do, all of the exercising I do, it boils down to acts of service so that I can be the best father, the best husband, the best trainer that I can actually be to serve others, so that God is constantly working through me so that I can reach them. I'm just a very small, minute vessel in the whole grand scheme of things. And I make sure that I keep that at the forefront of my mind. This ain't about me. It's about him.
I would definitely ditto to Ron. Everything is about acts of service. We have a friend who says he would do anything short of sin to win souls to Christ. And I believe that, and I want to say this in the most positive way, the kingdom needs to be attractive in some type of way for us to help win souls, the lost souls, over to the kingdom. And what I've learned is, in my core values, the fitness aspect of my core value has been one of the things that have attracted people to me. And once attracted to me, I can automatically let them know that it's not me, that it's him. I represent him, so I want to represent him and his kingdom in the best way possible. And I've seen it work. I've seen people show up in church just because they've seen me on Instagram, and I've invited them to church. So I just want we just need to represent the kingdom the best we possibly can.
I would just piggyback off of Shanera. Don't let age be a factor. I would encourage you to work out if it's just walking. God entrusted us with these bodies, not just to work out and look good, but it's where we house the Holy Spirit. And you would want it to show that he's living in us. So just not let it look good, but you want to be healthy. You want to be strong so you can be a living testimony, not just through fitness, but mental health as well. So, yeah.
You know what's interesting when you say some of these, when we built 4501 Old Frederick Road, it was still downtown, Franklin Cathedral Street. Art Welch came in to see me and to bring the verbal write-up of what the new church was going to be like, 4501 Old Frederick Road. And we're sitting in my office and he's talking about the new church, what it's going to have and how much it's going to house and all. And your dad is there with me and a couple others. We listening to all of this. And I got down to the bottom line. I said, what's it going to cost? All this stuff nice. But let's find out what it's going to cost to have nice. He told me what it would cost to have nice. And I sat there and thought to myself, why did I hire him? I done lost my mind. This is crazy. We'll never do. I sat there and they said, what do you think? And I said, the meeting should be over. Y'all, let's end and we'll come back together at another time. And Anthony said to me, what you going to do? I said, I got to think on this. So we all closed the meeting out, and I went down to the gym. Went down the road to the gym. Put on my gym clothes. Did two things. Played racquetball, and then ran. Racquetball to get all of the excess energy out. Then I did my laps. And I'm going around them laps. And as I'm going around, the further I go, the more I get it out of me. And God says, just as calmly, you don't have to raise all that money. And so I say to God, well, who gonna raise it? If I ain't gotta raise it, who gonna raise it? I said, no, you don't have to raise it. All you have to do is raise the income stream to pay for it. Now I'm running around the track. Ain't nobody else on there with me. I done left the meeting with all them folk in the meeting. I ain't gone out of there. No. And I'm running around the track, and God says, all you got to do, you don't need $16 million or $7 million. All you need is an income stream that can pay the mortgage on $7 million. You ain't got to have all that money. I said, well, we can do that. We ain't that far away from that kind of money. And we can do it if we do such and such and such. All of a sudden, ideas started coming from going around that track with nobody but me and God, just running around that track. And when I finished, I had a whole plan in my head. All that I said was impossible was possible. All the emotional adrenaline I had sent racing and coursing through my body had to turn around and go back home, because now the impossible was possible. God found the way to speak through the quietness of putting my body through the paces and letting it get closer to him. I was too far away from him sitting in that chair. I was real close to him going around that track. And he could say, just, you don't have to raise all that money. Just raise the income stream. Have you ever bought something you said, Lord, I don't know how in the world we afforded that? You ain't have to have all that money. All you had to have was the income stream that could pay the debt. Maybe what we're trying to say, brothers and sisters, is that when you bring your body into subjection and you say, I'm going to spend time with God, with me, God will speak to you and show you things you haven't seen and show you wonders you could not imagine. We're not saying you have to do this, that faith and fitness has to be a part of your life. But what we are saying is you ain't seen nothing till you try it and see what it can allow to have happen in your lives. I hope you take a listen to this time and time again after we finish tonight. If you're ever working out hard, you really want to have somebody wear you out, you check Teron out at Righteous Fitness. He can do it. Righteously Fit, he can do it every time. Check out Odell on Instagram. See him every day pressing them weights, and Timmy and Bev too. But just don't mess with Tip. Don't do it. I'm telling you, he'll drag you up and down the sidewalk. Don't do it, baby. Your head will bust like a watermelon. Thank you all. Thank each and every one of y'all for sharing with us tonight. I hope it's been good for y'all.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank
Thank you, Bishop.
All this has been wonderful. Well, listen, brothers and sisters, you know we're a Baptist church, so we lift our offering now, so don't forget. You know, this is another part of exercise. Take your hand and do it on the phone or in your pocket or your mail, but let's give our offerings. We use Givelify or PushPay or whatever to give our offerings now. But again, thanks for being a part of this. Be sure to watch our previous episode and get ready for the coming episodes of Let's Talk About It. Father, in Jesus' name, thank you for our time and our sharing. And may this tonight be the encouragement someone needs to know that they may not have started 20 years ago, and they may think that was the best time in their life. But the second best time in their life to start is right now. So help someone to start now. In Jesus' name, amen. Brothers and sisters, we'll be coming with some future episodes showing you some exercises you can do at home and just out and about, because we're going to make sure that fitness is a part of life. Take care now.